Hello and welcome to the Fall 2020 semester at ECC Automotive Technology Department. Today all we're going to do is, first of all, kind of make sure that this is working right and that you're seeing this and that we don't have any technical glitches. And we're going to go through the syllabus like we would if we were sitting at the Vehicle Training Center in a classroom. So first thing, let me bring up I'm going to bring up Blackboard and show you where you can find things. So let me share that. And so here we have Blackboard, and I don't know what it looks like when you sign into Blackboard, but when I sign in, it's, oh boy, let me take care of this. I need to put this code in here, 099585, one-time code, 099. Hang on. 585. Okay, that should work. Sorry about that, little glitch. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of little glitches. So I don't know what happens when you sign into Blackboard, but what we're interested in here is courses. And I have 3 lectures that I'm teaching, and you are all going to see the same content. And I'm going to put that content on Blackboard. So this video you probably got to from Blackboard in the first place. It'll be the same regardless of which. Here's my 3 lectures. 264 OB, that's the morning one. 264 OC, that's the afternoon one, and 264 5B, that's the night one. And as far as looking at content, it really doesn't matter which one you click on. But it is really important if you're taking a test and you want it to be graded, you have to be in the section that you're actually registered in. So you should only see the one that you're registered in, even though I'm showing you there's 3 here. So if you're in the morning one, you're just going to see that. If you're in the afternoon one, you'll just see that. So for this explanation, I'm just going to click on the morning one, and they should all look the same. So here we have basic my instructor information, right? So that's my name, address, phone number, email, my class schedule, and I showed you this in the lab, except for Monday night people. You haven't seen me yet. So that's all here under my instructor. My syllabus, we can click on syllabus here, and when this comes up, click on that and let it load. And this is what I want to go through with you today. And just talk a little bit about what it is we're going to learn about. So if you're in the afternoon, this will say OC. If you're at night, it'll say 5B. Other than that, all exactly the same. So what this course is, use of modern test equipment and techniques for diagnosing and servicing ignition systems and engine control systems. So basically what makes an engine run well, what makes it perform well, what makes it run poorly. Engine performance is not a class about high performance or about modifying cars so much as it is a class about making them perform the way that they were designed to perform. So if they're running poorly, lack of power, idle problems, hesitation, stalling, no start, things like that, those are all considered to be engine performance issues. As far as the text, as I'm sure you all know, the department has gone to this Electude, this electronic platform, which is nice, but you being seniors, many or all of you have bought this this big book, and we're not going to make you throw that in the garbage. In fact, I believe, if I read it right, that if you bought this book, they're going to cover you with a subscription to Electude. I'm pretty sure that's correct, and if you haven't gotten any information about that, then I'll find out and make sure you do. But I want to tell you, in my lectures, I don't really go page by page through the book anyhow. I have my own PowerPoints that I like to use, I like to discuss them, talk about them, and anything I give you on a test, it's going to be found in our lectures, in those PowerPoints, in things that I give to you or bring up on the screen here. Um, and everything I bring up on the screen here is going to be from Blackboard. I have it up on Blackboard. So if we're looking at slides, if we're looking at a PowerPoint in class, you can also look at that on your own. And if we're looking at videos in class, links to those are on Blackboard. So, anything we talk about in class, you have access to. As far as library resources, so ALLDATA, you're all familiar with from using it in the Vehicle Training Center, but what you may not know is that was restricted to computers that were actually on an ECC campus. So when a computer went to ALLDATA's servers looked to see where it was coming from, and if it was coming from ECC, it lets you in. If you tried the same thing from home, it would not. Because of what's going on, we have a temporary login to ALLDATA. I'll get that information for you if you don't already have it. And you can access it from anywhere. So if you're at home and you want to look something up, or if I'm home and I'm doing this lecture and I want to refer to something on ALLDATA, I can get to it, you can get to it. So that's good. The next item, course outcomes. This is a list of what we're hoping you learn by the end of the class, what you can do. And so you should be able to describe the operation of the four-stroke Otto cycle engine. This is something you learned in engine class, hopefully. And we're just going to go into it in more detail. Make sure we understand all the factors that go into making this engine run. Number 2, describe the engine design factors that affect engine performance. So we're talking about things like basic things like bore and stroke. We're talking about things like intake manifold and exhaust manifold design, shape, length, size. These all affect how well the engine performs, how much power it makes at various RPMs. Let me give you an example. If I'm designing an engine that doesn't really need a whole lot of torque because it's hauling around a tiny little car, I'm not going to have a really long stroke. What a long stroke does for you, that means that the crank pin where the connecting rod is attached is offset from the center line of the crank by a lot. It's like a longer lever, gives it a lot of leverage on the crank to turn it. But the downside, of course, what you lose with that is if you have a long stroke, every rotation of the engine, the piston is traveling a lot further than it would on an engine with a short stroke. So if I have a truck, I'm not too worried about high RPM. I'm more worried about low-end torque. I'm likely to have an engine that's got a longer stroke. If I have a little tiny car, I'm probably not worried about a lot of torque. I want an engine that has no trouble reaching higher RPM. So those are some things that go into factors that affect engine performance. Number 3, we're going to talk about the effect of atmospheric conditions on the operation of the engine. And I learned a lot about this when I was doing my pilot training. I have my pilot's license, and part of getting that, part of the book learning, if you will, you're learning how altitude has a serious effect on the engine. Temperature has a serious effect. Barometric pressure, they all have really huge effects on airplane engines, and they work the same as car engines. So we'll talk about that. Number 4, explain how cylinder conditions require adjustments of the air-fuel ratio and ignition timing. So when you're driving down the road, sometimes you've got your foot on the gas a little bit. Sometimes you got your foot on the gas a lot. Sometimes you take your foot off the gas. Every one of those things creates different conditions in the cylinder. So if I stomp really hard on the accelerator, the temperature and pressure in the cylinder are going to go way up. That's going to require a different amount of fuel than if I'm accelerating lightly or if I'm decelerating. If I'm decelerating, I probably don't need any fuel at all. And it's also going to affect the ignition timing. RPM affects the ignition timing. Number 5, we'll talk about compression. Not all engines have the same compression ratio. We've got it 8 to 1, 9 to 1, 10 to 1, 12 to 1. And having higher compression does have its advantages. It gives you, more power in general, but it also has problems. More likely to have detonation and things, and that requires some things to mitigate it, like higher octane fuel, or more tight control of ignition timing to keep it from knocking, keep from having detonation. You can't really combine a high compression engine with a turbocharger or a supercharger. It's kind of a one or the other thing, so we'll talk about that. Number 6, we're going to talk about ignition systems. There's a lot of them, but in this day and age, it's not really a system anymore. It's part of the overall engine control system, just another output from the computer. And number 7, this is where the money is. Number 7. You can train a lot of people to replace parts. It's much harder to train somebody to know which part to replace. And if you're in a dealership or a shop, the guy that knows how to diagnose is the one that's making more money. The one that's just a parts changer is just a parts changer, and there's nothing wrong with it, but diagnosis is what they pay you for. That's where knowledge comes in. So very important, number 7. These are the non-automotive objectives, so you can look at those if you want. Just a list here of what number equates to what letter grade when we're doing your grades. Here, let me turn off my my video here. You don't have to look at me. This way I can get away with drinking coffee. I notice I've spelled quizzes wrong. It should be 2 Z's there. So all of the grades in this class are going to be based on questions you answer on tests and quizzes that are given on Blackboard. So the way this is going to work is the smaller ones we'll call quizzes, and the bigger ones we'll call exams or tests. And so the smaller ones don't count for that much of your grade, 15%. Somewhere around halfway through the semester, we'll have a much bigger one, but it will incorporate all the questions you've already seen. So that's the nice thing. You'll have already seen a lot of these questions. And then at the end of the semester, the final is good for half your grade. So the nice thing is that's going to include a lot of questions from the quizzes and from the midterm. So you'll be seeing these questions for the second, third, maybe fourth time by the time you see them on the final. And by then, odds are really good that you know the answer to most of these. So the final won't have a lot of new material. It will have some new material that I'm testing you on, but it'll have a lot of stuff that you've already been tested on and already been corrected, seen the right answer. As far as attendance, it's an online class. There really aren't any attendance requirements. You just need to check your email all the time. When I post something, I'll send an email. You'll know it's there. You can go on Blackboard and you can look at it. So it'll be a video like this where I'm talking and I might be showing slides. I may reference other material that I've put up there. We'll go through it all in these videos. We'll go through all of this stuff. So if all you ever do is watch these videos, then you really don't have to click on anything else on Blackboard except for the tests. I do expect you to keep on top of this stuff. In other words, when I post a new video, and I'll do that before Monday every week, I might post it on Thursday or Friday. I might post it on Sunday. But before Monday, there's going to be something new up there every week. And when there's something new, I'll send an email. And your job is to go on Blackboard, look at the new video that I've posted. And if there's a test, take the test before the due date. All tests will have a due date. Other than that, that's it. So it shouldn't be too bad. I think this is going to work okay. If you have questions, so let me just stop sharing this a minute and turn my video back on for a minute. So, Bob, what if I have questions? What if I'm looking at your video, you're recording your lecture, and I don't know what you're talking about? I don't understand. I'm not quite getting it. How do I ask you a question? Because this isn't live, this is a recording. There's a couple ways. First way, send me an email with the question, and I will try to answer it in an email, try to explain it in a different way in the email. If that doesn't really work, you all should see me during the week in the lab. So face to face, I can, try to answer questions for you. And then the third way, we'll have to schedule it, but we could do an online video conference. We use WebEx. It's really similar to Zoom. So by now, everyone's really familiar with video conferences. So, one of those three ways, hopefully you'll get the questions answered. I think probably the easiest is going to be just asking me when you see me in the lab. Okay? So let me go back to the syllabus here a minute. There we go. So the outline, I just want to talk about the outline. There are only 7 items in this outline. And as you know, a semester is 15 weeks. So this is not a week-by-week outline telling you what we're going to learn each week. We have 15 weeks. This is one of them. So now we're down to 14. The final week, you're just going to be taking the final exam. So really 13 weeks to present material. And there's only 7 items here. So what that should tell you is that some of these items are going to take more than 1 week. Some might take less, but this is not, number 1 is going to be the first week, number 2 is the second week. What it is this is pretty much the order we're going to do things in, talk about things, and what we're going to talk about, but not necessarily on a one-to-one correlation for, by each week. And then the rest of the information here, if you, have to access the Student Access Center, here's the information, some rules about cheating, things like that. So let me stop sharing this a minute. Turn my camera back on. So I've sent a test email. Hopefully by now I've heard back from all of you so that I know you're all getting my emails. And so Monday, let's see, Friday's the 11th, Saturday the 12th, Sunday the 13th. So the 14th, September 14th is when you should be watching this, or before. I'll probably post it. I will have posted it before the 14th. So then the 21st, which is next Monday, there'll be another video up by then. And it'll be starting to go through that first PowerPoint that's on Blackboard. We may refer to a few of the videos. So feel free to look at that stuff ahead of time. I don't care. But we will go over it in class, if you will, in virtual class. So hopefully this semester goes well. Hopefully the labs don't get canceled because of high positive test rates or anything like that, and we can just do these lectures and see each other in lab, and you'll be able to ask me questions in lab and stuff like that. Don't know. This is new to all of us. Good luck. And if you're struggling, if you're having trouble, you got to talk to me. Don't just blow it off. I expect every week people to be engaged in this stuff and not just letting it build up. Uh, Once these videos are up, I won't take them back down, so you can go back and look at them to study and stuff like that. So that'll be nice. All right, that's it. See you next week, and we'll get started.